often a cruel one.
Every time you lose, you die a little bit. You die inside, a portion of you. Not all of your organs, maybe just your liver.
Pain is inevitable.
They're killing me, Whitey. They're killing me.
There was only the painful face of failure.
Okay, fellas? Hey, fellas, this is what you work all off season for. This is why you lift all them weights. This is why you do all that.
There was a fighting heart under the ribs of defeat.
Never give up, baby. Never give up.
Hey, because football season never ends. This is Intentional Grounding with your host, Pat Grothier, on Brookdale Student Radio, 90.5 The Night. Check it out.
All right, everybody, welcome to Intentional Grounding. That voice you just heard, the golden larynx of Ed 88 Keys Field at Croydon Hall. Also, our guest today in studio, my father, John Grothier. Give him a round of applause, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to get into it, as always, here with 5 and Out, of course. Last week we weren't on the air. The whole student radio station went down. We had an issue with the computer, but we're back up and running thanks to Anthony Fox of the radio station. So big thanks to him for getting us back on the air. Not a whole lot. So I'm gonna kind of carry over from last week because not much happened in the past week besides the Hall of Fame game. A couple more injuries here and there. So I kind of just merged the show from last week as well. So the first one here in 5 and Out, Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson. I feel like I'm talking about him every week. He is. At an interview the other day, last week actually, said he is positive that players in the NFL have and are currently using HGH, which is the human growth hormone, a form of steroid that they will start testing for this season. The NFL's reigning lead rusher also added that he is looking forward to the day when the league establishes a platform to start testing and to even out the playing field. And what do you feel about this?
Well, I think it should have been done many, many years ago, and like we discussed last night, about the old defensive lineman, Lyle Alzado. And that stuff basically ate his whole body up and destroyed his quality of life down the road.
Yeah, it was somebody who I wasn't aware of, actually, and he was telling me last night. And you saw from when he was in his playing days, he was a monster of a guy. He was huge. And then they showed when he had an interview with Sports Illustrated. They had taken pictures of him, and he looked like a shell of what he used to be. It was very, very horrible what happened to him. Some have speculated that some sort of PEDs were behind Peterson's miraculous return from that ACL and MCL tear to almost breaking the rushing record and getting over 2,000 yards. He said, quote, "I don't worry about those types of supplements, using those because I'm all natural." Actually, people are, there's always fake Twitter names and Twitter handles and everything. They actually made one at HGH Peterson to poke a little fun at him. But contrary to what AP is saying, somebody supporting him a little bit is Dr. James Andrew, who is the miracle worker of the sports industry, working on everybody from Robert Griffin III to Adrian Peterson to people in baseball and basketball. He said that the inside of his knee had no wear and tear for having played 6 years of football at the running back position. It looked like a newborn's knee. So, whether Dr. James Andrews is just saying that or whether, that's the truth, this guy could, we'll talk more about Adrian Peterson later. We'll have a little bit of a debate going on, me and my dad. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Next one up here is the teams are starting to use some more technology on the field. Now, whether this is just being reported on, whether it's been going on for a while, I'm not sure. New England Patriots, they have started using a small camera on the side of the quarterback's helmet. You should make your own generic Spygate joke there. Bill Belichick was very vague, as usual, on how they will be utilized for the team. It does provide a first-person view of exactly what the quarterback is looking at. His pre- and post-snap reads, how he makes his reads and progressions. But it talked about an NFL.com article by Kevin Patra. It seems strange to use it on Tom Brady, a 14-year veteran, and not a younger quarterback.
Well, like we had talked earlier, I think that it could be used for upcoming quarterbacks to train them to see how quick he goes through his progressions, how fast he actually reads the whole field, and how long he'll maybe take and what he's, which way he's looking for a pre-snap possible changing the play, doing a little audible at the line.
Yeah.
So I think it may be beneficial in that area, but for anything else, I can't really see where it's going to do any good.
Exactly, yeah, because Tom Brady's a 14-year veteran.
Exactly.
So he's getting not towards the tail end of his career, but he's not in his prime anymore. He's not a young guy anymore.
Right.
So this is starting to where they're going to develop more of Ryan Mallett, the guy that picked up a couple years ago in the draft, hoping that he can flourish once Tom Brady leaves, possibly as Aaron Rodgers did when Brett Favre left.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes with that. Another couple teams are using it. Dallas Cowboys have also started using a helmet cam on running back DeMarco Murray, but it seemed to be more of related to like an entertainment more aspect to it. They're using it as a segment on a video segment on their website called Helmet Cam. It didn't really show anything major. You saw him, going running in the huddle, taking a sip of water, doing stretches. It wasn't anything that they could possibly be using it, but knowing Jerry Jones, it's just something to get some more hits on his website. St. Louis Rams are going a step above and using some more advanced technology. Google Glass, which is something that's pretty interesting. It's basically a pair of glasses that has a small computer, basically the power of a smartphone, strapped on the side of that projects an image or a video or text message or an email, whatever, onto one of the lenses that you can see. Now this is gonna basically accomplish the same thing that a helmet cam would, just a lot more expensive if you break it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just wearing glasses to the running back, unless he is like an Eric Dickerson type of player where you need lenses to see where you're going to protect your eyes or whatever the case may be. I just don't see where it's practical.
Yeah, and they did it. ESPN did it as like a tech segment, a new thing. It was like the Dallas Cowboys. It's not like the Patriots where they're keeping it under wraps and they're going to use it for a strategical standpoint. They did it on an ESPN segment. It was no pads. It was Sam Bradford throw into their rookie wide receiver Tavon Austin, and it was just showing through their eyes. So it's another thing that's kind of an entertainment aspect of it. Will they use it? I don't know, because it's still something that is very expensive and that is still somewhat in a beta developer kind of phase. Jets have been in the news recently in the last couple weeks. They finally locked up their first round pick, quarterback D. Milliner out of Alabama, to a 4-year deal worth $12 million. That's fully guaranteed. But the thing is, it does a lot of things that I never heard about before this season when they started signing all of these rookie draft picks, was the offset language in the contract. And that's what's holding up a lot of these deals. It held up Deion Jordan's deal, held up D. Milliner, also our other first-round pick, Sheldon Richardson, who was also signed. Basically, it means the team will be allowed to recoup a certain amount of money if they cut the player. If he turns out to be a bust and they want to get rid of him, they'll be able to get some money back through this offset language in the contract. It's just a business side of it, like we were saying. It's the side that nobody ever wants to talk about.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
This deal means that all of the Jets draft picks have been signed, and with the signing of guard Chance Warmack with the Tennessee Titans, it means that all of the first-round picks are under contract from this year's draft. So everybody's locked up now, and we'll be able to get the season underway. By the way, 29 days until the season starts, everybody. 29 days, so we're less than a month away. Very, very exciting. Hall of Fame game was this past Sunday. We'll talk about that a little bit because it doesn't warrant a whole lot of talking about. But Jets still as well. The quarterback competition, which has been one of the marquee events of this whole entire training camp of the NFL. A lot of people are talking about this and the Eagles quarterback competition as well. General Manager John Idzik said it is to be a group decision between himself, Rex Ryan, and Woody Johnson. And I read another article today that says, let's not forget Marty Mornhinweg as well. This is his offense.
Absolutely.
And Rich Cimini, who's an ESPN writer, was saying he could possibly have the biggest say in it.
He should have one of the biggest says in it. I mean, I understand that Woody Johnson, he signs the paychecks, and John Idzik was instrumental in drafting him. But he's not the one that trains him every day. He's not the one that sees him in the locker room every day.
Exactly. Woody Johnson will go on the side. He'll go to a couple of training camps when he's not, out at charitable events. He's wearing that stupid hat and his shirt and tie, and he'll sit out there for a few minutes. But he's not in the nitty gritty with those guys every day.
He's not a coach.
Exactly.
He's an owner, and he's not like a Jerry Jones type of owner that did have his hands in football at one time during his life. Mm-hmm. And if he has, it must have been very quiet because he's never talked about it.
No.
So, I mean, for them to have a say, I think they're just trying to justify their existence.
Yeah.
In that type of in their environment of the football world, and I just don't agree with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of these veteran players too are starting to lean a little bit more towards Geno Smith. You saw Braylon Edwards come out and say something publicly, actually saying his name. Yes. A couple of these anonymous veteran Jets that are coming out not wanting to be named for whatever reason. John Izek refused to say if Rex will have that final decision. An interesting fact I also saw today was that Marty Mornhinweg has never went into a season with a rookie quarterback. All of his years as either an offensive coordinator, or I think he was a head coach for a short time as well for a year or two before that failed. He has never went into a season with a rookie quarterback. So Mark Sanchez getting this nod towards the first preseason game, I don't see that as a big deal as everybody's making it out to be. Like we said last night, I think you're going to see Mark Sanchez start the first game, Geno Smith start the second, Sanchez start the third, Geno Smith start the fourth. They're going to alternate it. They're both going to get reps with the first team, like they said.
Well, I mean, we talked earlier about the whole quarterback situation with New York, and I've just never seen where you have a 4-year starter has to compete for his job against a rookie. Mm-hmm. It should always be the other way around. He should be coming in, and we all know Mark has had his problems over the past couple of years.
He put himself in the situation.
Right, exactly. But, I mean, he also had no help from the front office.
No.
But you have a big name as far as rookies coming in. I mean, a lot of other teams wanted him.
Yeah.
But they're going to play him the way they're going to play him, no matter, whether you hear the fans, booing and screaming,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got booed at practice, yeah.
It's still going to be a coaching decision, and it should be made in the best interest of the team. And I'm just sick about the whole controversy and this and that.
Yeah.
The best man, first of all, is Mark Sanchez because he is the starter for the last 4 years. So for him to come in and saying, I'm fighting for my job, and everybody else is joining on the bandwagon, to me it's a little bit wrong, but as a fan, I could also see it.
And as being a Jets fan your whole life, being around other Jets fans, it's not something that's strange to us.
No,
because it's New York fans. It's Jets fans.
Exactly.
This is natural.
Exactly.
This comes with the territory.
Yes.
Another guy who did get a starting role that they also announced is the first round pick that we just signed, D. Milliner. He will be starting over Kyle Wilson, who has been a huge disappointment since being drafted in the first round. They're probably putting him back into more of a nickel role kind of position. We'll see how that goes out with the season. Next one up here is first-year head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Doug Marrone. He did not say who will be the starter for the first preseason game coming up. There are games coming up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this upcoming week. But he did give a timeline on when the final decision of the starting quarterback for the regular season will be made. Marrone said 10 days before the regular season opens is when we, the fans and the media, will know if either newly drafted E.J. Manuel out of Florida State or free agent newcomer Kevin Cobb will get the starting role. He said he's still 50-50 during the camp, which is it's his Bill Belichick kind of I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to say anything kind of answer.
Right.
With the Bills, like I've said in the past, it's not a team that I always usually fear as a Jets fan, them in the division.
Well, you don't have to anymore.
No.
Years ago. I mean, if they get their stuff together up there, I mean, they have a lot of talent.
We just reading an article now, C.J. Spiller, the offensive coordinator of the Bills, said that he's going to be running C.J. Spiller until he pukes. So I'm guessing Fred Jackson could be on his way out, maybe this possibly being his last year after suffering that knee injury last year.
He could be that third down back.
He could be, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could just be putting him into a different role with C.J. Spiller being the number one guy now.
Right.
And then the last one here on 5 and Out, Matt Ryan, quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, they agreed to a 5-year extension, here we go, worth $103 million with a $59 million guarantee. Now, I did my research last night, and I believe this is the highest amount of guaranteed money currently in the NFL. I saw a couple articles that said second, but I couldn't find who was the first. So we're saying that he has the most guaranteed money in the NFL for winning how many playoff games? 1.
Ooh.
1 playoff game. And him and Tony Romo, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll talk about later in Team Talk. We're doing the Cowboys this week, wrapping up the NFC East next week with the Philadelphia Eagles. They have a combined $114 million in guaranteed money, not even in their contract, in guaranteed money, with a combined 2 playoff wins. So guys that have made a ridiculous amount of money have 2 playoff wins to show for it.
It's beyond me because, growing up when I was your age, you didn't have salaries like this.
No. Guys were working other jobs. They were selling cars in the offseason.
Yeah, back in the 60s and the 70s. It was to see what they're making now and to have $59 million tied up into one player, and that's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
For winning 1 playoff game. I just can't. I can't see how they justify that.
No, I mean, and we talked about it last night. I can somewhat see how they can justify it with the fact that, like I said, now with the way these quarterbacks are, there's a precedent set now where basically if you're a good quarterback, I'm not saying elite because the elite term gets thrown around too much. If you're a good quarterback in the NFL, you prove that you're getting a Pro Bowls, your team is getting somewhere. Seems that threshold is the minimum these guys are getting paid is $100 million.
Easy.
And it all. I don't know who started it, but you see guys like Aaron Rodgers, like Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady. They deserve that big money. Drew Brees, even. I like Drew Brees as a quarterback.
Brees, yes.
Won that Super Bowl with them. Mm-hmm. I think they deserve that big money. But a guy like Joe Flacco, who just came in out of nowhere after being middle of the pack of a quarterback his whole career, just
Pretty
getting
much,
into the playoffs most of the time. I think he made the playoffs every year, which is good. He's getting his team there. Finally won the Super Bowl, got the MVP. I don't know if he deserved all that money. But the thing is, he's never going to see all that money. That's a lot of thing with these contracts that people don't realize is that years down the road, like what just happened a couple years ago in the past few years with Peyton Manning, with Tom Brady, they restructure them towards the end.
Oh, absolutely.
To either make them lose a little bit of money to spread out more to the team, or to possibly give them a little bit more, or just move the deal around so the money's right.
Oh, absolutely.
Another side is the business aspect of it.
Right. It's and now, I think from when I was a kid to now, I think the whole business thing has been really, really put out into fans' faces.
Oh, absolutely.
And you just have to keep your eyes open because, I mean, that's what it really is. I mean, from the PSLs to just going out to a game for the day. I remember we went to that preseason game a few years ago, and we dropped $400 on a preseason game. And I just think that's horrible because your fans are your middle class and your lower middle class people out there that just love football season, but unfortunately can't afford to go to them most of the time.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the thing that's really sad about it is that these teams that are, it's not even like you'll see teams that rank towards the top of these lists that come out of most expensive games are teams like the Jets, teams like the Cowboys, who are putting up 8-8 seasons and less.
Exactly.
Putting up a 500 record, and it's like, why am I going to go and drop $700 in a day to go see a regular season game for a team that's 8-8?
I don't think I would.
and I don't. Last game I went to, I got preseason tickets given to me by a season ticket holder.
Right.
And I had the Jets call me. I don't know if I told you. I had the Jets call me when I was at work the other day, asking to offer me season. Oh, how was your last experience at the stadium? Did you have a good time there? Do you have any feedback for us? Oh, yeah, we're interested in season tickets. They're emailing me. So they're really, Woody Johnson's desperate to make some of this money. We'll move on from that.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the end of 5 and Out there. We'll take a quick break. We come back later with Injury Report. We got a whole lot going on the show today. We're going to do Most Ridiculous NFL Story of the Week. This one is, I find it funny. I don't know, my dad wasn't laughing too much last night. Main talk. We'll get into a little bit of debate. Before we'll take a quick break first. All right, and welcome back, everybody, to Intentional Grounding here. We have a special guest and host today, my dad, John. So we will get into it here with the injury. A lot of injuries been going on since training camp. A lot of, bad ones, too. Not your normal, tweak a hamstring, a lot of torn ACLs.
It's a lot of lower extremity injuries.
You're seeing that a lot more in the NFL in general, but very prominent in training camp. We'll start here with Broncos center Dan Koppen is out for the season after suffering an ACL tear after he just rejoined Denver 6 weeks ago after their starter J.D. Walton had a little bit of a setback from his recovery from an ankle surgery. So their front five, Denver, is really suffering a lot of injuries this offseason. Only their left guard, Zane Beadles, is healthy. Everybody else has went down. So Peyton Manning coming off those neck injuries, he needs some help.
You better start doing sprints.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Tight end Dennis Pitta of the champion Baltimore Ravens, fractured and dislocated hip. That's a rough one.
That hurts.
Yeah, effectively ending his season, of course. Coach Harbaugh said there's no way he could come back from that. Ravens, in his place, for a one-year deal, signed tight end Visanthe Shanko, who has been with the Giants. He's been with the Minnesota Vikings. He had a short stint on the Patriots last year. So it's somebody who could come in and fill the role decently. Dennis Pitta, who wasn't a huge marquee guy. I think a lot of people were blowing that more out of proportion than they were. The only reason I can see them doing that is losing Anquan Bolden.
Well, yeah, it's going to hurt Flacco a little bit because he had two go-to guys in Bolden and Pitta that, knew him. and Flacco knew how they run and come out of breaks and so forth. So it's going to hurt Flacco a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, now they have Visanthe Shenko, they have Torrey Smith, and I don't even know who their number 2 receiver is. I don't know if they retained Jacoby Jones. I'm not sure. After that big game in Denver where he caught that big Hail Mary. I might have saw something with him getting hurt. I'm not sure. I'll look that up during one of the breaks.
I thought he was still on the team.
He might still be on the team, yeah. Another big one, wide receiver, Jeremy Maclin of the Philadelphia Eagles, is the next to suffer a season-ending torn ACL. Like I said, the first two out of the 3 are torn ACLs. During his 5-year career, very injury-plagued, Maclin has only played 1 full season without missing a game due to injuries. So it's a guy who, solid wide receiver for them, always does great. I think, and a lot of people think, that he's a better all-around wide receiver than Deshaun Jackson.
Well, I thought so. He just seemed to be not have as many head problems, so to speak. You know, he didn't get caught up in his own newspaper clippings, so to speak. Yep,
no, absolutely. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, most ridiculous NFL story of last week was going to be Deshaun Jackson came out with a rap song with Snoop Dogg.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. It was great. He rapped for a whole 29 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He must have paid Snoop a lot of money to get into that one. He was sitting there, rapped for 29 seconds, and was dancing the rest of the video. It was pretty hysterical. Next here is Redskins cornerback D'Angelo Hall, a veteran quarterback they have there, which they retained in this season. Sprained ligaments in his ankle. Could miss the training camp, but they haven't said anything on if he will miss any bit of the season yet. We'll get some more updates when we get more towards the season in the next couple weeks. Arian Foster, another big name running back of the Houston Texans, is still on the PUP list, which is the physically unable to perform list, with a calf injury. The Texans GM said his return is very close, quote, very close. So we'll see how he comes back. I don't think they're expecting him to miss any time going into the season in the next month. Chicago Bears defensive lineman Turk McBride is another season ender with, this is the roughest sounding injury, a ruptured Achilles tendon. That sounds awful. So his season is over. A lot of people don't come back from that at all. That can sometimes be a career ender, but the advances in medicine now could fix that. This is a big one, too. I mean, a big one in fact of a marquee name. Newly acquired free agent for the Seattle Seahawks, wide receiver Percy Harvin, has a possible tear in his labrum of his hip, which he did have surgery for last week. They said there's no official timetable, but they going off of similar surgeries to similar injuries, they're speculating about a 3 to 4 month return time for him.
I don't see how he comes back for any part of this season.
This could be a kind of thing where I don't know if where Rex Ryan was boasting last year when Santonio Holmes went down with that Liz Frank injury, that they're going to not put him on the IR because he thinks they're going to make the playoffs. Seahawks, it's a little bit more realistic, but I don't think that they need to go that route. We were talking last night, is that this wasn't a necessity pickup for them. This was more of a luxury pickup for them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you still have Sidney Rice. Sidney Rice, you may have saw in the news, he underwent a minor procedure on his knee. It wasn't a surgery. Basically, it was kind of like a blood transit. They took the blood out of his knee, heated it up, and put it back in. It's supposed to get it moving again, get any kind of bad things out of the blood. I don't know.
That's a new one on me.
I'm not the nurse in the family. But I don't think they're going to suffer a whole lot from this because they did well without him last year.
Well, yeah, they did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not going to be as huge as everybody's making it out to be.
I just think Pete Carroll was really looking for that 1-2 knockout punch as far as, having a totally high-powered offense goes to get to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. It would have been great for Russell Wilson to have. He'd have the two former Vikings wide receivers.
Right.
That Brett Favre had. Brett Favre took the NFC Championship with Percy Harvin and Sidney Rice at his wideout position. So
Sidney Rice was a rookie at the time.
Yeah, he was, yeah. A couple more injuries that came in today. Mike Johnson, right tackle of the Atlanta Falcons, suffered a dislocated left ankle and a fibula fracture during Tuesday's practice. He is out for the season. Another one here yesterday, this happened. Denario Alexander tore his right ACL, so another ACL. He's wide receiver of the San Diego Chargers. He's out for the season. Another last one here is the Jaguars quarterback, Blaine Gabbert. He sprained his ankle during practice last week. I don't think it's anything major, but it's like Kevin Cobb, another guy who, minor injury, he tweaked his knee when he slipped on a rubber mat.
Right.
Which is ridiculous to hear. They have these rubber mats separating the field, and it was slick. He was slamming his helmet down. He was frustrated, understandably,
sure,
in a tight quarterback competition with a rookie. It's these two guys. It's something that's going to set them back, but they're not going to miss any time for it.
I don't think so. I mean, depending on what type of ankle sprain it is, high or low, and what degree it is.
Yeah.
Those trainers have so many things at their disposal that they can really help players along with nowadays.
Yeah, and ankles are tough because, it's something that's always going to haunt you. It still haunts me from just playing Pop Warner football. It still hurts.
Right.
I roll my ankles around and they're cracking if I can put them up to the mic. All right, so the injury report, there we go. A lot of things happening. Next is everybody's favorite, the most ridiculous NFL story of the week. Now, we were a little – you thought another one should be, which was something that happened. The referees at training camp now, they actual NFL referees, they go to the scrimmages at training camps when the teams scrimmage against each other. So they have a realistic environment for the players. The referees have been telling players and coaches that they will start throwing the flag for a touchdown dance when you spin the ball like a top.
I remember back in the 70s when it was real prevalent when you had like Drew Pearson from the Cowboys, and then you had the the Funky Bunch from the Redskins, where they all used to jump up and high five each other.
Yeah.
You want to know something? As long as it doesn't get carried away, let the guys celebrate. It doesn't do anything. I mean, I've been a fan my whole life. I've never really heard anybody say they should ban this and they should ban that.
Yep.
If it's done in good taste and it's fun, go for it. Mm-hmm. I just think they're a little out of hand with it nowadays. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I think it was more towards if you're directing it towards a player. I think I might have heard when they were talking about it on either ESPN or NFL Network, they were saying that like if you're like when you stand over a player after you sack them, they had they listed the
that's taunting. So
exactly,
you can't do that. That's against the rules regardless.
They listed the whole section amendment rule from the collective bargaining agreement that showed exactly what was banned.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that is banned, players are still doing and not getting penalized for.
Right.
So they aren't necessarily everything's pretty much you're not supposed to celebrate at all. That's the rule.
Exactly.
But they're letting things go because they don't want to become what everybody's talking about with the no fun league.
Well, it's not only that. You're trying to sanitize the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, let these guys have some fun.
Exactly.
For crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So this is what I thought. I thought this is not the song so much as hilarious. It has the vibe of one of those Saturday Night Live type songs, the guys who do those joke songs. But you have to see it. I'll link the video on everything on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. It is hysterical. The Manning brothers, they have no shame. They don't care. They did they did a commercial for DirecTV for NFL Sunday Ticket that's now on the phone. And just listen to the song for a second.
Your phone.
Now, you have to see the video to give this any justice, because the song doesn't give it any justice. Because Eli Manning is looking like he's sporting some kind of fake tan and a little Jerry curl action, and Peyton Manning has the most ridiculous haircut.
That's the same haircut that Adam Sandler had in Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Yeah. That's them rapping.
Show your friends and watch them all go home. It's football on your phone, so now's your chance
to have football on your phone and football in your pants.
These guys are never gonna live it down in the locker room, but they don't care.
No. There's gonna be wigs all over the locker room.
Oh, absolutely. If I was a Giant, I'd come in with those. I'd buy a whole bunch of those wigs and
forget about
a whole training camp practice. Everybody wearing them during warm-ups. It'd be hysterical.
Put him in his helmet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. All right. So, like I said, I'll post a link up because you have to see it. It's the way they're dressed is just hysterical. Not even the song. You'd put the song on mute. Just the way they're dressed is hilarious. All right. So, main talk of the week. This past amidst all of the baseball biogenesis scandal and the A-Rod getting suspended and the whole Riley Cooper incident, which I don't want to talk about. We started football this weekend. Did you know that? Did you happen to know that?
I caught a little bit of something.
Football started this weekend. We had the preseason kickoff with the Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame class of 2013, a pretty good class. It was actually a very good class this year.
Yes, it was.
My favorite was last year because it had my favorite player of all time, Curtis Martin. That's always going to be my favorite. We'll start off here with guard tackle. He played every position on the offensive line except center. Larry Allen played for 14 seasons, mostly with the Cowboys. Last couple years of his career played with the 49ers. He played every position. I blocked for Emmitt Smith during his franchise record year of 1,773 yards while he was with the Cowboys. He was a first-team All-Pro 7 years in a row, and he had 11 Pro Bowls. Mean-looking dude.
He's an animal.
Oh, man, he's a mean-looking guy.
He was probably one of the best linemen in the last 15 to 20 years.
Absolutely, yeah. Blocked for Frank Gore when he set his team single-season rushing record of 1,695 yards. Mm-hmm. Now, what was your best memory of Larry Allen?
Well, I remember when they used to do the Pro Bowl and they would have the challenges for the fans and stuff.
They replay them on NFL Network all the time. I love them.
Larry Allen came out, and for the linemen, they would do a bench press of 225 pounds and who could rep it as many times as possible. And he just blew everybody out of the water with 43 reps of 225 pounds. There was one part you had said something. It was like OC.
Defensive end of the Giants, OC Umanura. At the time he was with the Giants, he went up there. I think he was the last one or second to last one. Larry Allen had already went, and everyone was trying to break his record. OC went up, rep 4 times, put it down, and walked away. Smart man right there. That's something I wish they'd bring back, because in the last couple weeks, also they did announce the new format for the Pro Bowl, which is they're going to assign a fan vote is going to assign 2 captains, regardless of division. Division isn't gonna come into it anymore.
Okay.
So they're gonna have the 2 guys voted by the fans. Also accompanying those 2 captains are going to be 2 Hall of Fame captains, which are Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice, and 2 fan captains, co-captains, which are voted on. I believe it goes by who. It's an NFL fantasy football type vote.
Okay.
So I'm guessing they're going to have one big league that everybody goes into. That if you win that league, you come first and second. Or I don't know how they're going to do it. They're trying to incorporate everything now, and it's like I said, it's regardless of the decision. So they're going to pick the team based on, who they want. I think they said something like a 40-something man roster, 43-man roster, because they're not going to do kickoffs, no kick returns.
Well, of course not. Why should they do that? It's football.
So they're going to start on the 20, and they're going to go from there. I'm telling you, in the next few years, Roger Goodell is just going to phase out kickoffs. I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced of it. He's going to take the jobs of many people doing that in the meantime.
It's part of the game, and you just, again, in my opinion, I just think he's destroying a great game.
No, he is, yeah. And then with the Pro Bowl, this is something, like I said, when I went into it, they need to bring this back. They were talking about not even doing the Pro Bowl this year if last year didn't go well.
Right.
So
because they weren't even playing.
It was a joke.
It was.
It's a joke.
It was.
But that's the thing, is that you look at, I don't watch MLB, but I have watched previous NBA All-Star games. You look at the NBA All-Star game, it's also a bit of a joke. It's games that can go up to 130 points a team sometimes.
Right.
But they tie together the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday they'll do the rookie versus sophomore games. They'll do the celebrity all-star game.
Right.
They'll do skills challenges, 3-point dunk contest. Roger Goodell, I don't understand why he's not doing this. He's not taking anybody. Who cares? You're not taking anybody's ideas. It's been like this forever. Every sport has done this. They used to do it. Bring it back. Right. Bring back the quarterback challenge. I love that.
Watching it on ESPN.
I love that. I love watching the reruns when they put it on NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
I always watch
the
it.
Quarterback challenges, the receiver challenges,
absolutely.
All of that stuff. That's great stuff.
It was great. Yeah, I don't understand. If you want to bring more money to it, bring that stuff back. I'm sure Hawaii would love it because they're going to get a whole lot more money out of it.
And they'll get money through sponsors. We all know
that. It's just, yeah. But next up here is wide receiver Chris Carter, the emotional Chris Carter. Always crying whenever he gets a chance. Played for 16 seasons, wide receiver with the Eagles, Vikings, and Dolphins. Mostly spent most of his career with the Vikings. That's where he flourished the most. He was taken in the 4th round of the supplemental draft. So supplemental draft is something that a lot of people really don't know about. Not a lot of really prevalent players come out of that. He's the second player in NFL history to catch 1,000 career passes. He's had 8 straight seasons with 1,000 yards or more, 42 100-plus yard receiving games, and he was in 8 Pro Bowls. So he had a great career.
No, he had
Nobody
a very
can doubt
good career.
that.
And in part, if it wasn't for Buddy Ryan cutting him from the Eagles, he may not have had an extended career.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Before he was really Chris Carter, he was getting passes thrown to him on the Eagles by what's his name?
Randall
Cunningham, yep. Randall Cunningham, yeah. So Chris Carter, he's in there after, I think, 6 years of getting snubbed. Defensive tackle Curly Colt out of the 60s, a guy that, a lot of the more recent players recent fans may not know about, younger fans. Played for 14 seasons during the 60s with the Chiefs, the Oilers, and the Lions. He was a member of the Super Bowl IV winning team with the Chiefs. He was also helped revitalize the Oilers with back-to-back AFC title games when he was with them. Interesting thing about Curly Colt, he came out of the draft as a defensive tackle when he was with the Broncos, and they signed him. They got him out of the draft. They tried to make him to an offensive tackle.
That's tough.
Did bad.
That's tough.
Didn't do as well as they wanted. Trade him to the Chiefs. Help him win a Super Bowl.
There you go.
Broncos kicking himself for that one.
Well,
Offensive tackle. This dude who's another. He's just a monstrosity.
Just a beast.
Offensive tackle Jonathan Ogden played 12 years all with the Ravens. He was their first ever draft pick. Ravens when they were expansion team made. And he's their first ever. Fitting that he's their first ever Hall of Fame selection. He was a key blocker for running back Jamal Lewis, and he was a solid pass protector for whoever happened to be in the pocket that week, whether it was Trent Dilfer or whoever was there. He won their Super Bowl. He helped them win the Super Bowl, 35. He was 11 Pro Bowls and 6 All-Pro honors. Guys, seeing him against standing next to other people, huge.
Oh, he was just
he's gigantic, yeah.
And he was an athlete.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Next one here is linebacker David Robinson. Played for 12 seasons with the Lombardi Packers, also finished up with the Redskins. He was starting outside linebacker for 3 straight NFL championships. He won with the Packers the first 2 Super Bowls, and then he won the NFL championship before Super Bowl I. So that's where the 3 NFL championships come into it.
Right.
So, the Super Bowl era started 40, how many years ago? 46 now? How old are you? Because it started when you were
40,
born.
It'll be Super Bowl 47.
47, yeah. So before that, it was when it was the NFL and the AFL.
Right.
The NFL had their championship game, and they had won the last one before they did the modern era, the modern Super Bowl era. It's 5 All-Pro nominations and 3 Pro Bowls. Next up here is defensive tackle Warren Sapp.
Joe Klecko?
Warned me of that one. 13 seasons played for the Buccaneers and the Oakland Raiders. 96.5 career sacks as an interior lineman, which is very impressive. Usually see the outside guys, which are getting most of the sacks, but Warren Sapp, a great athletic talent. He would just bull rush him and get in the backfield and take down the quarterback. He was always chasing after him with those cornrows waving in the wind. He was the 1999 Defensive Player of the Year. That season he had 12.5 sacks, 54 tackles with 3 forced fumbles, which he recovered 2 of them. He helped them win Super Bowl 37. He was an All-Pro 4 times and was in 7 Pro Bowls.
He was a fantastic player.
Absolutely.
But I still think Joe Klecko should be there first.
You want to go on a rant?
Well, you know what it is? I'll say the one thing that everybody that's a true Jet fan should know is that, old number 73, Joe Klecko, made the Pro Bowl at all 3 positions on the defensive line that nobody has ever, to this day, accomplished. And why he is not in the Hall of Fame is still mind-boggling. Okay, that's enough.
All right, so head coach, last one here. Head coach Bill Parcells, my favorite guy of the whole class here. Played coach for 19 seasons with the Giants, the Patriots, the Jets, and ended his career with the Cowboys. He has an overall record of 172, 130, and 1 tie. His postseason record is 11-8. He was renowned. Nobody's better, and nobody will ever be better, I'm convinced, at turning around teams into contenders. Phenomenal at it.
Oh, absolutely.
Came with the Giants. He went into them. They started off 3-12-1. He brought them in his tenure to 2 Super Bowls. Patriots, they had a 7-year playoff drought. 2 years later, they were 11-5 with a Super Bowl appearance.
Yep.
Came to the 97 Jets, which were 1-15, brought them to a 9-7 season, then to a 12-4 season with an AFC Championship game appearance.
Yeah, that was a close one.
That was a close one, yeah. Cowboy, I watched the replays of that. Cowboys, he went to the Cowboys under Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, another guy who likes to just discard head coaches after a couple years. We'll talk about that on Cowboys Talk next. He went to the Cowboys, brought them to a couple wild card appearances. So Bill Parcells, great head coach, probably one of the best. I think he was ranked close to the top 5 when ESPN did their greatest coaches of all time poll, and he well deserves it.
Oh,
very good speech too. He knew exactly what it is. He never looked down at the paper once. Made a little joke with Lawrence Taylor. He said, when they're putting my bust in there, I only ask them to put me near Lawrence Taylor so I can keep an eye on that joker. Everybody,
That's
Lawrence,
a good one.
yeah, Lawrence Taylor. They had an interview with him not too long ago. Said, he really lost his love for the game when Bill Parcells left the Giants. He was never the same after Bill Parcells left.
Yeah, I can see that.
Team talk. We'll get into team talk. We got about 20 minutes left, so we got some time for everything. Cowboys this week. We're still in the NFC East. Next week we'll be wrapping it up with the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys 2012 record last year was 8-8, so they finished with a 500 season, 3-3 in the division, so they were 500 there as well. They were 3rd in the NFC East. I had them ranked in my power rankings at 19th, and ESPN had them at 20th. Those were the post-draft power rankings. Again, another team that the NFC East really in general hasn't had a very huge offseason as some of the other teams have, getting all these marquee names and stuff like that.
Right.
They only acquired a couple guys. Safety Will Allen free agent from the Steelers, who's a good safety for them. Linebacker Anthony Spencer, they franchised him, but he just underwent a knee procedure. Linebacker Justin Durant, free agent via the Lions, and then they had their draft. Their first round pick was a center, Travis Frederick out of Wisconsin, which we talked about this last night. We differed a little bit on this. Everybody, all the scouts, people that were in war rooms and draft rooms, he was widely panned as being a 4th to 5th round talent. Right. They took him in the first round with, I'm not sure with what pick, they were around middle of the pack with their pick. Something that I didn't understand. You know, you saw him play in the Hall of Fame game. What did you think?
Well, I thought he was very, very good. The way he was able to call out the blocking assignments for the line, the way he's calling out the coverages downfield. Yeah. For a rookie, that's basically unheard of. And he's able to stack out to the linebackers to get those, that second-tier block down the field for his running backs, and you could see how it was happening with number 34, Tanner, their number 2 halfback. He was just opening up, running lanes for him like it was going out of style. Yeah. I think maybe to get him at first round, but this is a guy that could be around for 12, 13, 14 years.
He could, but he could either be in the mindset that I was, they took me in the first round, I'm going to play great now. Or on the flip side of that, he could have had the mindset that nobody took me in the first round, they took me in the 5th, now I'm going to play to show that they could have, they should have got me
that's
earlier.
Always the flip side of that coin.
Exactly. So I think I didn't agree with this pick at all.
Yeah, I know you didn't. I know.
They very well could have got him in the 4th round, the 5th round.
Maybe. Everybody says what they're going to say after the fact.
That's the thing, is that how many, I'll take a look, but I don't think many teams took a center before that. I don't know if any teams took a center before that. Possibly maybe in the later rounds, but you could maybe stretch it to the 3rd round.
Well, I tell you, what I've seen against a rookie against the Miami Dolphins starting defense, I think he did very well.
Yeah. They suffered a decent amount of injuries last year with running back DeMarco Murray going down, as well as outside linebacker DeMarcus Ware, tight end Jason Witten for the first bit of the season. He came back strong, though. He did great. Romo got a lot of money for not doing a whole lot. We talked about it earlier with Matt Ryan. Romo got a 6-year, $108 million deal with $55 million guaranteed and up to $25 million in bonuses.
Like to be his neighbor.
Oh, yeah. They lost a couple guys this year, running back Felix Jones to the Eagles, linebacker Dan Connor to the Giants, wide receiver Kevin Ogletree, who was the guy who was Fantasy Sleeper of the Year in Week 1 and 2 because he came out and had 100 yards, and then he went straight down after that. He went to the Buccaneers, and defensive end Marcus Spears to the Ravens. So Cowboys, I'm a little weird on how they're going to do this season. They got Jason Garrett's not calling the plays, but Bill Callahan, who was the former offensive line coach for the Jets, he's now calling their plays as the offensive coordinator.
Well, he was a head coach back in the day.
Yeah.
He was a head coach over at the Raiders for a while.
So
he knows what he's doing, and he'll probably wind up taking Garrett's job in another season or two.
Probably, yeah. He's got Monty Kiffin doing the defense as well. Monty Kiffin, 73 years old, up in the press box. All right, so Cowboys, we're going to get into the debate now. We got 15 minutes left to do this. We're going to get into it. I wish I had some ding, ding, ding kind of sound effects going. So first one here. Donovan McNabb last week had his number retired by the Eagles, who he played for majority of his career. Do you think, this has been an argument for a lot of people, do you think that he is worthy of being in the Hall of Fame? Not a first ballot, because I don't think anybody believes he's going to be a first ballot.
No.
Some point in his career, do you think he will be in the Hall of Fame?
I have to go over his stats just one more time.
Oh, I got him.
I know that you do. In time, but not now. Not now. Not when you got so many other good quarterbacks out there that are sitting at home since the 70s, since the 60s, just sitting at home waiting for that call that they've been put in for, that they've been elected to the Hall of Fame.
What it takes is 5 years. So you have to wait 5 years after your after the year you retire to be eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So a couple of guys that were in this year's draft, Warren Sapp, Jonathan Ogden, I believe Jonathan Ogden, they were both first ballot guys. Donovan McNabb. So I'm going to name off a couple stats here. I'm not going to say the names just yet. Mm-hmm. So yards, 35,467. Touchdowns, 237. Interceptions, 175. Completion percentage, 60.1. QB rating, 84.4. Flip side, 37,000 yards, 267 yards, 234 touchdowns, to 3 less, 117 interceptions, so 60 less, a little bit less completion percentage at 59, and QB rating of 85.6.
Okay.
First guy,
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Okay.
Second guy was Donovan McNabb.
Okay.
So you got a guy like Donovan McNabb. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a guy who praises everything on stats, but it's a good part of how you're judged in your career.
Right.
You have a guy like Jim Kelly, who's among the 6 players who haven't won a Super Bowl who are in the Hall of Fame. The others being Sonny Jurgensen, Fran Tarkenton, Dan Fouts, Dan Marino, and Warren Moon.
Right.
So a guy like Jim Kelly, who went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost them all. Now that's the thing. Donovan McNabb, 4 NFC East titles. He won the NFC East 4 times. Went to 5 NFC East championship games.
Okay.
With 1 Super Bowl appearance where he lost to the Patriots.
Because he was tired.
He was very tired.
Yeah, he was tired. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He was in the Super Bowl as a quarterback, and he didn't win because, quoting him, I was tired.
He was tired.
Okay.
So do you put Donovan McNabb in the same light as those guys who didn't win a Super Bowl? No, Donovan McNabb getting to 5 NFC title games, that's a big deal.
I'm not saying you couldn't put them in the same category. I just don't think he warrants being in the Hall of Fame as a first, second, or even a third ballot. Not when you got guys like you have Kenny Stabler, who was probably another great quarterback, and you got a guy like Jim Plunkett. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jim Plunkett, this guy is like the forgotten guy. He's won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
What? And I got his stats here. I mean, if you look from when he started out, he graduated from Stanford as the Heisman Trophy winner in 1970. All right, he played from 1971 to 1986 for a total of 16 seasons. Mm-hmm. All right, he was the first overall pick by the New England Patriots. He was an AFC Rookie of the Year. Okay, now he did not flourish while he was in New England. He had a hard time going in New England. All right, now also with his stats, take in mind several of his years were when the NFL was only playing a 14-season year.
Yeah, different era.
Okay?
Much different era.
So if you look at in 1980, he was voted as the Comeback Player of the Year. He also won Super Bowl 15, took the MVP honor, and then back in 1983, when the Raiders moved to L.A., he won Super Bowl 18. Mm-hmm. All right, he played 157 games. He passed for 25,882 yards with 164 TDs. All right?
Yeah.
Why is this man not in the Pro Bowl? And I'm far from a Raiders fan.
Hall of Fame.
But I will give, in the Hall of Fame. I'll give credit where credit is due. And to go one step on, he's a Native American.
Yeah. You don't see.
I mean, how many Native Americans do you see get that kind of a resume after playing in the NFL?
This is a very diverse league.
Years.
Very diverse league with Hawaiian, Samoan, every race you can think of. But you really don't see many Native Americans.
Right. Because I even compared him to a guy that's well known through every football page out there, Troy Aikman. Now, Troy Aikman played 12 seasons. All right, he was the first overall pick of Dallas back in the day. He played 165 games. He had 165 TDs. Only one more.
I got him too.
Than Jim Plunkett. Mm-hmm. And Jim Plunkett, and he played for 4 less seasons.
Yeah.
In a 16-game season. Mm-hmm. He went to 6 Pro Bowls, but only played in 3 of them. Okay. He won 3 Super Bowls and was the MVP of Super Bowl 27.
I had Troy Aikman on my list as well with his stats because he has 5,000 less yards than Donovan McNabb.
Exactly.
He has 70 less touchdowns, 30 more interceptions, and very similar completion percentage and rating. And that's where the fact that Super Bowl wins is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Super Bowl appearances is also huge in the fact of Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly went to 4 straight Super Bowls, but he lost them all.
Right.
So if Donovan McNabb, now let me ask you this, hypothetically, if Donovan McNabb had maybe won 2 more of those NFC title games and he went to 3 Super Bowls and lost them all, do you put him in the class with those 6 guys who've never won a ring and are in the Hall of Fame?
I think you could.
I think you could too.
I think there's a strong argument for that.
But I think if you put Donovan McNabb in the Hall of Fame, you're setting a standard of mediocrity.
Yes. To a certain point.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that going into the Hall of Fame should be really dictated on how many rings you have.
No.
I think it should just be on how you spent your career while you were in the NFL.
Yep.
You know? I mean, if that's the case, then some of these people that have been in the Hall of Fame who don't have rings shouldn't even be there. Like Dan Marino. Why is Dan Marino there?
Because he threw for 60,000 yards.
Okay, great. So he threw for
phenomenal
60,000 yards, which is a phenomenal feat.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Brett
cutting him
Favre broke
short, but he never won a Super Bowl.
I know.
They said years ago in an old ESPN article that the standard that if you win 2 Super Bowls, you should automatically, I mean, that should be the standard. You should be right into the Hall of Fame
I don't agree
if you're
with
a
that.
quarterback that won 2 Super Bowls.
I don't agree with that.
And that's what ESPN had said.
Yeah.
But I just think guys like Jim Plunkett and Ken Stabler and guys from that era, from the 60s and the 70s, have just been overlooked, whether because they played for the Raiders and the NFL and the Raiders have never seen eye to eye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Raiders fans still
I don't know what it
complain
is.
about that.
But then again, you'll put in a guy like Troy Aikman and Dan Marino just because of who they are.
Yeah.
Because they were franchise people. Well, Jim Plunkett was a franchise guy. Just because he was a journeyman and he played for 3 different teams doesn't make him any less of a Super Bowl champion.
Oh, yeah.
And he should be a first ballot. And as a matter of fact, next year he should be in the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
We'll see.
In the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
All right, so next year was Adrian Peterson, running back for the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, you all know him by name now. I feel like I talk about him too much. Said he would beat the career rushing record set by Emmitt Smith of 18,355 yards. And he even gave us an exact date of when he would do it. Week 16 of the 2017 season. So basically what he would have to do is he would have to average 120 yards per game for the next 79 games to get 9,507 more yards. That's almost, that's almost 2,000 yards a season.
Right.
That's a lot. He just got that 2,000-yard season. You know, Emmitt Smith was a consistent guy in the 13 to the 17 range, 1,300 to 1,700 range of yards. He never broke 2,000.
Right.
Emmitt Smith played for 15 years. This is the interesting thing. Peterson's in his 7th year. Emmitt Smith in his 6th year. But I don't think he's going to break it that time, he says. I think he will break it.
As long as he stays healthy.
I think he will break it without a doubt. Is why I say at 6 years, but these are the stats. Adrian Peterson, 8,849 yards, 76 touchdowns, 1,754 attempts with 89 games played. Emmitt Smith, at 6 years in his career, 8,956 yards. So there's a small 100-yard difference. 96 touchdowns. There's some more in there. That's just the fact of the matter, the teams they were on and the other people surrounding them. 2,077 attempts. So Emmitt Smith has had 300 more attempts at that point. Only 100 yards more.
Right.
Adrian Peterson's a freak. He's running ridiculously with
absolutely.
with 93 games played. So he only played 4 more games for him at that time.
Right.
So Peterson, he's going to break the record. Week 16 of the third quarter in the second play on the 5th possession. No, he's going to break it. Not that time.
You know what? I mean, it's okay. He can turn around and say he's going to do this and he's going to do that, and that's fine. If that's what he needs to psych himself up to get out there and be the best running back he can be, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a bold statement. It's just like when they
Absolutely.
always say, "Oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year," or "We're going to win the Super Bowl this year."
Uh-huh.
I wish him all the luck, but you know what? Stay healthy, Adrian.
Yeah.
Stay healthy, because this is the first time you seriously got hurt, and you got very, very lucky on your procedure and your rehab and so forth. But hey, man, good luck to you.
And I wish him the best of luck, too, because he is really great to watch.
He is. He's an exciting running back to watch. But, I mean, you're talking about putting up 9,500 yards to break the record. 9,500 yards is what an average, probably an average-aged running back that comes in, runs for 6 to 8 years, retires, is what he gets.
Exactly.
Is 9,500 yards, and that's what he needs to surpass Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very hard, in my opinion, to do that because, number one, you got to stay healthy.
Yep, and another thing with health is he going to stay on the Vikings for his whole career?
You're talking 79 more games.
Yeah.
He still has 79 games to do what he wants to do. And that's a lot of games.
And the way Christian Ponder's going up and down like that, he could have 6 more quarterbacks in that time.
Exactly.
Who knows with the way the Vikings are going to go. Christian Ponder did very good last year in his role, but he's a guy that could be a Kevin Kolb type guy where he can show some promise for a couple games, and then he can go right back down again.
You also got to think that they just lost 2 of their greatest receivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rice and Harvin are gone.
Yeah, they got a couple, a newly drafted Cordell Patterson and a whole other bunch of some guys that most people never even heard of. So
Right.
But that's this week, everybody. So thank you for joining us. It was great having you. It was nice having little debates with you and everything like we do at home on the.
That was a lot of fun.
On the radio here.
That's how you'll be punished.
So we're going to be back same time next week, Wednesday at 1. Another little bit coming out of the intentional grounding camp. I know you guys are dying to hear me every week. You're waiting every week, waiting at the radios at Wednesday at 1. You won't have to wait much longer. Starting this fall semester coming up in September, you will hear me on on our FM station doing the sports reports, and I will also be in the spring semester on Brookdale TV doing the basketball game play-by-play with a partner who I have not yet met yet, but I'm very excited to do it, very excited to get more involved with the program here, with the radio, and of course with the television, so looking forward to doing that as well, and we will see you all next week.